Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Well, at last there's some good news for the Russian gas giant Gazprom, as it's announced a new record level of gas supplies to China. Currently, China's not the only market for Russian gas, though, with Europe also purchasing more of the blue fuel this year. So what are the factors driving the increased demand for Russian gas, and what could potentially impact the Russians' gas export capacity? Well, at the end of July, Gazprom announced that it had set a new daily record for gas supplies to China via the vast Power of Siberia pipeline. The supplies exceeded the daily contractual obligations. Now, in 2024, Russia is set to export a record volume of gas to China, reaching approximately 40 billion cubic meters, making it the country's primary supplier, according to Igor Sechin, who heads the strategic development of the fuel and energy sector in Russia and is also head of the oil and gas company Rosneft. Now, this level includes both pipeline deliveries and LNG. Now, for instance, the plan is to supply approximately 30 billion cubic meters of gas via the Power of Siberia pipeline this year, according to Novak, and then he's confirmed that another 10 billion cubic meters will be supplied in the form of LNG. Now, in the first half of the year, exports of LNG to China have already reached 5 billion cubic meters, which is 3.6 million tons. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund my channel and the website SCOBRICSinsight.com to further development. This can be done by making a small donation, which you can do by clicking the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me, and I'm going to thank you personally now. So, what is the driver of growth in Russian gas supplies to China? Well, firstly, the planned growth of supplies via the pipeline Power of Siberia is on track, with approximately 8 billion cubic meters per year to be expected extra by 2025, and then the pipeline will reach its designated capacity of 38 billion cubic meters per year. In 2023, Russia supplied 22.7 billion cubic meters via the pipeline, with 30 billion scheduled for this year and 38 billion in 2025. Now, it's possible that this plan could be exceeded by the end of the year, as it was already the case last year. I mean, from a purely financial perspective, it's advantageous for China to purchase via the Power of Siberia pipeline than LNG. Now, the contract for the Power of Siberia pipeline is tied to oil prices, so it's now more profitable to take it than from the pipeline than it is LNG prices, because they are priced at the spot market rate. Now, in the first half of the year, the spot market price in Asia was approximately $400 per thousand cubic meters. Now, given the current oil price range of $80 to $85, the price of Power of Siberia gas is comparatively lower. Consequently, China is happy to take a greater volume of pipeline gas, as it's spending a lot less money. Now, this illustration is as follows. In 2022, China took less than it was contractually obligated, says Igor Yushchov, who's a professor at the Russian Financial University and also a member of the Russian National Security Fund. And he says that is because spot gas prices were lower that year. So it was better for the Chinese to buy LNG than it was gas. Now, unlike the current ratio, which are Europe and Asia, which are practically the same, and favourable ice conditions, it's likely that Yamal LNG will now direct its LNG to Asian markets via the eastern part of the Northern Sea route. Now, Novatek will fulfil its contract for supplies to China, which is 1.9 million tonnes, and that's going to pretty much fulfill that. Now, additionally, LNG supplies to China also go from the Sakhalin 2 project, 1.5 million tonnes, Portava LNG, 0.2 million tonnes. Sections also said that he reckons that gas supplies to China in the future could reach around 100 billion cubic meters by the end of the decade. I mean, China's supply already by the end of this coming 2 years is going to be 48 billion at competitive prices, and although the prices are competitors are lower than Europe. Now, the proposed agreement to supply another 50 billion cubic metres via Power of Siberia 2 could offset Gazprom's lost export volumes to Europe by approximately 40%. Now, also there's been an increase in the volume of gas supplied to Europe from Russia. Now, according to data from the consultancy company ICIS, that's ICIS, not the terrorists, the European Union approximately 30% more imports of natural gas in June 2024 than in September 2022. Now, there are three main routes for Russian gas to get to Europe: Turkish Stream pipeline, the Ukrainian pipeline system, and LNG by sea. I mean, the supply of gas is increasing due to the use of the pipelines, because it's now more profitable for customers to purchase gas from Gazprom than from using the spot market. I mean, in the previous year, prices of Gazprom gas were at a consistently lower level than those so the spot market, and that was due to a decline in the spot market throughout the year, from an initial $600 to a final range of $300 to $350. And contracts with Gazprom are also tied to the spot market, but there's a time lag of several months, resulting in a slower decline in the price than for LNG. Now, use cost forecast indicates that Russia supplied around 27 billion cubic metres in 2023, and supplies could increase by 3 to 6 billion cubic metres in 2024, reaching around 30 to 35 billion cubic metres to Europe. Now, with regard to Russian LNG, it's primarily going to Europe. This is due to the fact that LNG prices in Europe are either the same or even higher in Europe. Now, the shorter distance of the leg from Siberia compared to the route via the Suez Canal or around Africa makes LNG from Russia more competitive in there. You just don't have the transport costs. Now, obviously, the possible ban of Russian gas supplies to Europe by the EU does remain a concern. While sanctions have not been introduced, there's been a discussion in Europe about the possibility of a ban on LNG supplies. However, there's no consensus amongst the members of the European countries on the issue, much like some other issues, as they're concerned about the possible price increases, supply shortages, and yet another energy crisis occurring in Europe. Plus the US, despite its previous promises, is not actually a reliable supplier to Europe, because as soon as prices in Asia move higher on the spot market, US traders send their gas there, and Europe is left to scramble for supplies. So in my opinion, a ban on Russian LNG is unlikely, and if it does come in, then there's going to be middlemen who will buy cargoes from Russia and then relabel the cargoes and supply it to Europe, as currently happens with oil. Now, the US has no requirement for Russian LNG. Nevertheless, it will introduce sanctions just because it sees Russian LNG as a competitor. And it doesn't like competitors. We've seen that already with the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline. Now, it's unlikely that there'll be a blockade of Russian gas supplies, but if there isn't, and there's no progress in the peaceful settlement of the situation in the Ukraine, and there's no remaining grounds for sanctions. By 2026 to 2030, there's going to be new gas liquefaction capacities in the US, Qatar, and Australia. Now, this will provide Europe with an opportunity to find competitive suppliers in the market in a more straightforward manner. However, Russia's already prepared to consolidate its position. I think everybody's now aware from reports in the Western media that unidentified parties are purchasing LNG tankers globally and assembling a clandestine LNG fleet that's beneficial to Russia. Now, this is similar to the way the shadow fleet of Russian oil tankers has been operating for the past year or so to get around the oil price cap. Now, the creation of a shadow LNG fleet is probably in preparation for the potential introduction of sanctions against Yamal LNG. Because the US will try to exclude this project from the market, and basically, if they do that and exclude them from the market, they'll need to get the gas LNG to the Asian markets via tankers. Now, to export LNG through the Suez Canal, a total of 95 tankers will be required. with 40 for the first 2 stages and 55 for all 3 stages. The Yushkov reckons that 75 to 80 tankers will be required to transport it either through the Suez or around Africa. In that event, the Yamal LNG, subject to sanctions, its Arctic 7 ice class will import the products to the Yamal LNG and NH2 and transshipment to the Murmansk and Kamchatka regions. From there, the LNG will be transshipped, the same shadow fleet that's currently being assembled, and it will go to the Asian markets. Now, the future of gas transit through the Ukraine following the expiration of the transit agreement in December 2024 remains uncertain. However, the outcome is really going to depend on who is the new US president. However, if no action is taken, transit could still be maintained. I mean, many believe a new transit contract could be signed to preserve the transit, but that's actually not necessary, as the UK has implemented European legislation that requires it to hold auctions to reserve capacities without transit agreements. So Gazprom can purchase as much pipeline capacity at the auctions as it has orders for gas in Europe. So, much like all the other promises of the EU that it's going to end its purchases of Russian gas and other commodities, this is another broken one. Now, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, you can help me fund the channel and my website SCO by clicking on the thanks button and making a donation. Thank you, and I'll see you all again soon.